Hauntcast. Haunting, Halloween, and horror. This video is for informational purposes only. Neither Hauntcast nor Baker are responsible if you glue your butt cheeks together or clog your lungs with styrofoam particles. Please haunt responsibly.
From the moment I read Lovecraft's Call of Cthulhu, I've wanted to build a Cthulhu creature for my haunt, but I was having difficulty wrapping my mind around how to build the prop. This year, I cowboyed up and decided to just go for it. And here is my supply list. Styrofoam blocks, Spider Hill Propworks double spine kit, Loctite foam, smooth on freeform air, 10mm EVA foam, foam clay, EVA hot glue sticks, hot glue gun, hot knife, 9-gauge wire, aluminum foil, sage spray paint, gray spray paint, plasti dip or leak seal, a rasp file, foam knife, 1-inch PVC pipe, plywood, and 2x3s for the base. My measurements were based off a 7-foot man. The 1-inch PVC pipes were cut to size, laying out all the pieces as they will be connected to the spider joints. I decided to use the spine spider joint for the ankles instead, and used a pair of 1-inch T connectors on the spine. For the base, I used some scrap 3/4-inch plywood and some wood from a bed frame. You can use 2x3s. The dimensions are roughly 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. The PVC armature was assembled in a crouched position. 1-inch T's were used to connect the spine pipes to the shoulder area, so I could attach some 6-inch long pieces of 1-inch pipe to protrude out the back for attaching the wings. I scored some 12x12 by 17-inch styrofoam blocks and cut 4 of them into 4 pieces for the tibia, femur, humerus, and radius sections of the limbs.
Check out the big brain on Brett!
Actually, the name is Baker, not Brett, but, I appreciate the sentiment. Using the sled guide attachment for my industrial hot knife, I cut dados down the middle of each piece. I then sandwiched the 2 pieces onto the PVC pipes using window and door spray foam as adhesive. After the adhesive cured, I began rounding down and shaping the foam with a rasp. At this point, I decided to finish off the base by gluing on foam sheets. When using spray foam as an adhesive, always weight or clamp down the pieces to prevent the foam from expanding. I coated the foam with Hotwire Foam Factory foam coat, which I did not mention in the supply list. The universal mounting bases were attached using 1-inch screws. I cut a foam block in half, then cut out a diagonal section to use as the chest and the back. I carved the feet out of shoebox-sized pieces of styrofoam. Using spray foam as adhesive, once again, I attached the chest piece. After attaching the humerus pieces, all the spider joints needed to be screwed into the 1-inch pipes with 3/4-inch self-drilling screws. I used a 45-degree elbow to slope the shoulders, which is recommended for all your armatures to break up that blocky shoulder look. For the radius section, I shaped it with an orbital sander with 60 grit paper, before cutting it in half and adding the dado to attach to the pipe. I used a rasp and orbital sander with 60 grit paper to smooth out the foam and to shape the chest. I also used Loctite foam to build up the thighs, the glutes, the bis, and the tris, and to fill in all the gaps.
It's intermission time, folks! Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video with your like-minded haunt friends. Also, listen to the Hauntcast audio podcast. New content every Friday. Available on all podcast platforms.
And now, on with the show.
Smooth-On's freeform air was used to make the claws for the feet and the hands. I made 3 claws for each hand and for each foot, although I probably should have made 4 for each. I attached the claws with a dab of spray foam. For the hands, I carved the rough shape with a foam knife, then used a rasp and file to sculpt, then coated with a layer of freeform air. I glued 1.5 foam blocks together for the head and then sketched out the rough design. I used a hot knife to cut off large pieces of foam until I got the rough shape, then used an orbital sander and a rasp to sculpt. cutting 9 pieces of 9-gauge wire into varying lengths from 1.5 to 2.5 feet for the tentacles, then inserting them into the foam about an inch, and then covering them with aluminum foil to shape. After extensive sculpting with the rasp and sander, I coated the entire body and head with a 1/4 inch of foam clay. The eyes are 3/4 and 1 inch balls of free-form air. To create the wings, I purchased a pattern from a cosplayer online. Links in the description. The pattern was printed out on sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper, taped to the 10mm EVA foam, and trimmed out with an X-Acto knife. 4 wing shapes were cut, 1 for the front and 1 for the back. A dado was cut into the foam to fit the 9-gauge wire for rigidity and to secure the wings to Cthulhu's back. EVA hot glue was added to secure the 9-gauge wire and the front and back pieces together. I rounded the edges of the EVA foam with a Dremel sanding bit. I drilled holes into the PVC pipes protruding from his shoulder blades to fit the 9-gauge wire to attach the wings. Gray vinyl exterior fabric from Joann's was cut using the pattern and glued to the backside of the wings. More foam clay was added to the tentacles and to the head, especially around the eyes. I moved the prop outside before starting the next step, which is to add several coats of leak seal, as the foam clay will disintegrate with water. Before spraying, the claws and eyes were covered in painter's tape. You can also use Plasti Dip, but I would use 6 coats to ensure full coverage. After drying, I filled in some of the cracks with Quick Seal caulk.
You said cock.
That's C-A-U-L-K. The L's kind of silent. Can I just finish? I'm almost done.
Phrasing.
Moving on. When the caulk was dry, I added 2 more coats of leak seal. 3 total. A coat of gray spray paint was applied, and while still wet, a coat of sage, so that the colors would blend. With an airbrush, I added some black spots randomly all over. Red and yellow craft paint was applied to the eyes and coated with 5-minute epoxy. The wings were painted the same colors, then attached. Shadows and details were added for his abs, pecs, buys, tries, etc. with an airbrush. Gray stone spray paint was used on the base and faux moss was added with hot glue. Here is the completed prop during the day and at night. If I was to start over, I would have sculpted the foam body parts first, split in half, cut the dado, and then glued to the PVC pipes to save time, spray foam, and foam clay. If you have any questions on the build, suggestions, or just want to troll me, please post in the catacombs below.
I'm going now. Heaven help you.
Please support Hauntcast. Like, subscribe, comment, and share with your haunt fiends. Listen to the Hauntcast audio podcast. New content every Friday. Available on all podcasting platforms. Also, follow us on Instagram and join the Facebook group for show updates. Links below. Until next time, stay scary.